Beautiful flank coming in here. The horsemen picking off both of these springalds. The only counter that English had to the mangonels that were on the field at the moment. That's a beautiful flank there from Louis MT. Hello, welcome to a caster game. Today we've got a couple of players from China. We have in the pink playing English, and the pink's opponent today is down to the west, and it is Louis MT on the Abbasid dynasty. And Louis is the only one of these two players that I know about and have heard of. But the other player is also very highly rated. I think rank 18 on the 1 versus 1 ladder at the moment. So this should be a cracking game. The King of the North tournament wrapped up this weekend. I say wrapped up. It was played entirely this weekend. It was an excellent LAN tournament. So if you didn't get a chance to catch it, I'll put some links down below where you can find the VODs and all of that good stuff. I highly recommend watching as much of it as you can. There were some incredible games from a nice variety of players. And it was good to see a LAN event, you know. First AoE 4 LAN event I think I've watched. I don't know if there's even been any AoE 4 LAN events at all. But there is another one coming up, and it's King of the Rockies, which is hosted over in North America, Canada, I believe. So I'm not sure exactly when that is. But again, I will link all of these down below so you can check them out, see if you can tune in. And yes, definitely worth your time. We do see Louis MT popping the House of Wisdom down. Looks fairly standard so far. I guess this Phil will be heading towards the... he's going to the berries, so just with 2 on gold, which is maybe a couple less than we might expect. But we'll see what he decides to go. I imagine... Well, military doesn't often make too much sense if the English player is going with the Council Hall, which they are. So hopefully Louis spots this and decides not to go military wing, as the units that come out of the military wing are just so easily countered by 2 longbowmen from the Council Hall, which will be out, you know, within a few seconds of the Council Hall being finished. It can work well against the king that the English can produce, as you do get the spearman. We do see he's going with the military wing anyway, so we'll see how he uses those units, possibly just for a bit of defense. But yeah, we'll see. Nice haul of sheep for Louis. 7 running back to under the TC, and our pink player, where is his? Over here. Only 3 at the moment. Has he done a drop off already? It doesn't look like it, which is curious. I think he must have done a little one. There's a few sheep under there. So yeah, he's all good for food so far. The map is Highview. I don't think I mentioned that at the start of the game. There are a lot of stealth forests that run through the middle and the outside edge of this map, offering very limited viewing points for both teams. You're kind of on a little bit of a hill on this top point, and then immediately you have no information about what is going on in the outside world. 2 longbowmen queued up already, with 1 popping out. Look how fast these come out. Disgusting how quick these spawn out. Every 8 seconds if you've got the resources for them. And they will be spotted by Louis MT, so he will know that this is coming. But like we mentioned, these... I mean, just 2 of these longbowmen, maybe 3, will definitely seal the deal and cancel out all of the military units that are coming out for Louis MT. Louis does have an awful lot of villagers onward. He's up to 11 now, so you do see archery range stable. And this is just the nice counter to all these longbowmen, plus any spearmen that might be coming out for the English to counter the horsemen that will be being produced by Louis. So nice read there, nice very quick production on the field to prevent any harassment coming down. Pink looks to wrap around. Louis got a little lucky with this double wood line here. This creates a fairly, well, a very small choke point to the gold and a very long walk all the way around, which is in fact what Louis's military units have decided to do. Spearmen engaging in, they will get taken out rather rapidly by these 4 longbowmen on the field, with some more on the way out. And we do hear the archers popping off in the background for Louis MT. So just building up his archer number. Going to be difficult to match if Pink did continue to mass longbowmen, but it doesn't look like he's deciding to do that. He is going with the second TC with 9 villagers on this stone outcropping already. And Louis does spot that with the scout, so he will know what's coming and what to prepare for. And does he look to go for a second TC himself? He does now pull 10 villagers onto the stone, so this will be a bit of a TC battle. See who wants to go for more than 2. We will see. With a second archery range, just to cover off any switches that the English might decide to do. But as of now, we have a small force from each player just defending up their gold and their stone. As we see both players getting the stone and wood they need for the second TC. A number of positions that both players can put their second TC. Louis has a nice spot over here with deer, bit of wood line and some gold close by. Plus it's to the rear of his base, so a little easier to defend if he does go that route. And same with the English really, they have a nice deer pack at the back of their main wood line. With a gold not too far away, fairly easy to wall off this area for the English. But he does put the TC down at the front. I wonder if he'll look to go for a second TC. Louis dives in, trying to delay the TC, but he is a little bit late here. He will take down 1 villager, but they will jump in the TC now, and that aggression will be halted. So TC a little earlier for the English. That will mean he can start getting that villager production up and going faster than the Abbasid player, and he does put his second TC on the deer. Interesting location for this TC. I guess just looking for a bit more of a defensive area. With so many villagers on gold, we can probably look to see him go for a castle age rather quickly. It'll either be that or he'll be starting to throw down a load of eco upgrades, but I think it'll be the castle age with the farm transition as well. Lots of farms coming down for the English, and we'll just secure up his permanent food resources going forward. Second TC almost finished. These villas will get moved towards the deer, looking for the food. Do we have villagers on gold? Some villagers on gold for the Abbasid. Only 4 at the moment, so not too indicative of a castle age just yet. Maybe wants to get out a few more economy upgrades. He does have the double broadaxe lumber preservation already done, so that's 15% increased gather rate for wood. And the villager counts are more or less even. The TC was up a little earlier for English, so he is getting ahead by sort of 1 or 2 villagers, but did lose a villager as well. So Louis MT keeping that villager count nice and even. And it looks like both players now re-macroing to go for Castle Age. And again, the English will be slightly ahead on the Castle Age timing. They'll also be able to throw as many villagers at the landmark as they want, so they can get a very rapid age up, which is something the Abbasid is limited by, as they can only choose their advancement through the House of Wisdom, and that always takes a set amount of time. In this case, 1:45. A bit more military being produced by Louis MT. He does have a bunch of archers queued up with some more horsemen. Possibly looking to do a bit of harass, but I just don't think this is enough force. The English TC obviously fire that additional arrow And he's got a few longbowmen out as well, which will fairly happily defend against this force. Louis knows exactly what's going on, though. Some nice scouting here. You can see how much gold has been taken from this mine. And we'll surmise that English has enough for his castle age, as we see the White Tower going down in the middle of the base, and this will protect a bunch of farms and the 2 TCs as well. Incredibly defensive position from the English. Very compact base. Lots of farms going up. No walls as of yet, but the absolute rain of arrows that comes from these 2 TCs plus the White Tower will be enough to dissuade any sort of advancement. I say that as a few horsemen push in and do actually end up picking off 2 more villagers. So very valuable trades here. Horsemen scouting around the edge of the base, looking for another villager kill. These archers might look to pick 1 more off, and that would be a pretty decent trade if he gets another one. But he is getting mown down by these TCs pretty quickly now. So just a couple of villagers killed there, and does lose his whole military force for it. So probably worth it keeping the villager count even. I mean, that's what you want to do as the Abbasid as he moves into the castle age. Also just to keep the English from getting any units out to harass themselves. And we do see the culture wing coming in for Louis MT. This will give him access to preservation of knowledge, and that is cheaper technologies by 20%. Hasn't researched bootcamp yet. Probably doesn't know exactly what army comp he wants just yet. We do see double stable at the back, so that's 3 in total now. So I imagine we'll look for knights here, and he also has 3 archery ranges as well. So knight archer or knight crossbowman. Crossbowmen could be okay, but they're not great into the longbowmen, so we'll have to see what he decides. And it is knight crossbowman for Louis MT. So a very potent combo here, and he will put the mosque down as well, so looking to secure up some relics. Composition wise, almost matched from our pink English player, as he does take out, he almost takes out. Very lucky villager here, gets away with 2 health, but these villagers might not be as lucky. They do jump in nice and quickly. Crossbowman pops out and then is immediately peppered with a few arrows. We do have the crossbowman knight versus knight longbowman comp coming out here. As long as the crossbowman can take out the English knights as fast as possible, the longbowmen will lose any sort of defense that they have. The knights for the English pull back now and refocus their fire on a villager building an outpost. They do manage to take that villager out, and that is on the board for the first time is the English for the villager kills. The mosque is finished. Is this the first? The first imam, I think, coming out onto the field now, and is rallied over to a fairly central relic and just wants to secure as many of those up before the English player can. Just keeping him busy in the middle of the map, keep him distracted so he isn't looking for those imams on the field. Does the English have a monastery? He does. And the first monk is out, heading to a different relic than the Abbasid player, I think. Possibly this one to the northwest of the map. 1 relic in hand for Abbasid. Which one's that? Where is that? This is the... Oh, that was the English, actually, that had picked one up already. He must have grabbed that closer one. That is a shame for Louis MT there. Not able to secure that first relic, and has now potentially lost this one, as he doesn't quite have the force to contest it. There's too many longbowmen. These are just going to pick off the crossbowmen very quickly. And actually knight numbers fairly even for both players, though the English ones were very low, so are being very quickly picked off by the crossbowmen. A nice win there by Louis MT. Will now take out the monk of English. So a nice trade here coming in for both players. 1 relic secured for English with another one on the way over on this west flank. And we have 1 moving towards the mosque for purple. So English winning out on the relic game at the moment. Louis MT needs to get a couple more units down here just to dissuade this army so he can start picking up more relics. And a little lapse in concentration from that Imam, just walks straight into the open arms of the English knights and longbowmen, as the longbowmen using their range to their advantage to pick off a lot of these purple Abbasid crossbowmen. Louis MT has switched out to horsemen, which will do a lot better into the longbowmen, and can mass a lot more of them versus the knights as well. So horsemen crossbowmen is the general army for purple now. Some military upgrades coming in for Louis MT as well. Might just give him the edge in some of these upcoming fights if he does wait to engage before he gets these, but he needs to be quick as the third relic has been picked up by the English monk now as he moves through the stealth forest. I imagine Louis MT can't actually see this, so some nice play here using the stealth forest to his advantage. Oh, he does just pop out here. He is visible. Will Louis MT win this fight? He does pull a knight off to start attacking the monk. He does go to use the Wallalow ability, but I think it got cancelled or something there by the knight's charge, or maybe a misclick from the English player. Louis does clean up this pink army quite nicely here. The tech switch to the horseman was a good choice. He had the crossbowmen to be able to deal with the knights. Well, I say to deal with, there's still a few knights here, but the horsemen have now killed all of the longbowmen of English. Down to only 4 military population. These knights will end up cleaning these crossbowmen up if he's not careful though. And again, just throwing away these religious units. Both players have lost a fair few just sort of diving in when there's, you know, it's not safe. There's a lot of military around, and this relic has just made its way closer and closer to the English base. It is now looking very unlikely that the Abbasid will be able to claim this one. Despite having a larger army, it is remassing sort of just behind this. He would need to push in very quickly, but I think this relic is now secured up for English. And that will be 3 for the English. And the 4th one is nice and safe at the back. And Louis does know this. And he has started to move his army to the back, the east corner. But maybe deciding that it's just not worth it, or he's not going to be able to get his Imam all the way out there and back again. So losing out on the relic game is Louis MT, 3-1 to the pink English player. Let's switch over to the resources per minute as both teams reassess the situation, figure out what's going on and what they can do next. Louis decides it's time for a mangonel. This will definitely help with any longbowmen on the field. The knight number's not looking too strong for English either. Only up to 4 on the field. A lot of gold sat just in reserve as well. Does he have a market? He is actually going up to Imperial Age. Imperial Age with a ton of gold still in reserves. And he is spending that on some technology. I think as soon as this comes in, Louis is going to want to move in here. I don't know if he's seen this. I doubt it. He probably hasn't scouted this back bit for quite a while. But Louis will know that this is going to be a weak spot for the English player. He's used a lot of resources into getting up into Imperial Age. And as we can see by the bars above, the army value for Louis is much higher. With a bit of siege worked in, 1 battering ram, couple of mangonels on the field. Imperial Age does tick up now, as we see armor-clad coming in for the men-at-arms. Looks like we might have a bit of a tech switch out from the knights and into the men-at-arms. Once our English player gets... He's going to need some more barracks down. Only 1 on the field, actually. His can produce from the White Tower as well, which he is doing. You see the men-at-arms They're actually still the early man-at-arms. Hasn't got all of the upgrades in yet. And this is just a bit of a mismanagement here, going for the Imperial Age without having the relevant techs researched going in. This is going to take a fair amount of time to get all of these man-at-arms upgrades in. He's on his way to regular old feudal age man-at-arms. They are still the Dark Age man-at-arms here. So pretty useless against the army that Louis is fielding. Lots of gold passive income from English. So he does have the gold to get all these upgrades. It's just the time. He's going to lose out a little bit as these upgrades take their time to come through. Louis, not quite enough siege to take down this first TC just yet. He does decide to push in with his force as the feudal man-at-arms move in against this Castle Age mass that Louis has had. And it's enough to dissuade Louis there. He is taking up himself to Imperial Age behind all this with the economic wing. Berkshire Palace looking very imposing at the back here. Such a safe base for the English. This will be hard to breach without trebuchets or perhaps cannons once Louis MT does hit the Imperial Age. Lots of barracks coming in. Did Louis spot all these? Possibly not. Not sure if he's wandered over this way yet. He will have seen the man-at-arms on the front of the field. So we'll need to mass a lot more crossbowmen to deal with this fairly significant man-at-arms transition that the English has gone with. Up to 17 on the field with 11 more on the way. As Louis looks to secure his flanks. Doesn't want any run-bys getting into the back of his base. Using up all of the external resources that he has access to him. And we do see a bit of a farm transition. Not quite as heavy as the English just yet. But he will catch up in due course, I imagine. Some nice tower emplacements here for Louis. Just wanted to note that the towers will be invisible to the pink player, but as they're in the stealth forests, Louis gets lots of vision onto the map. He does have another tower going down here, so he will have seen all of these units and exactly the comp that English has moving towards his base, and can re-macro and decide what units he wants in response to the English army of man-at-arms, with a few longbowmen in there for good measure. Beautiful flank coming in here. The horsemen picking off both of these springalds. The only counter that English had to the mangonels that were on the field at the moment. That's a beautiful flank there from Louis MT. And now the man-at-arms kind of just out on their own. They could probably attack these crossbowmen if they had a bit of longbowmen for assistance or any type of siege, but with the mangonels on the field for Louis and no siege for English, definitely not a fight he wants to jump into here, I don't think. The man-at-arms get surrounded by the horsemen, acting as a bit of a meat shield for the crossbowmen, as the crossbowmen just tear through all of the man-at-arms from pink. This initial force is going down. He is managing to keep the mass going as we see them streaming across the map. It's still at 37 military on the field, and the longbowmen and man-at-arms deal with a few of the knights over on the flank, but the main army here is still looking very healthy for Louis MT, with the mangonels just free-firing on the background at the back of the army, and a culverin as well, just getting some shots off, and that will counter any sort of springalds that pink does look to mass. That was a very significant win there for Louis MT. Doing a nice chunk of damage to the English army, is now up about 20 in the military count. Interesting mass horsemen into the men-at-arms. They are doing a decent job of getting the flanks off, picking off some of the longbowmen from behind, as we see the man-at-arms pushing into the crossbow mass. But I think just too much military here from Louis MT. A really good engagement earlier on, and a great pick-off of those springalds, just allowing his mangonels to free fire for that whole fight. I mean, they've been completely untouched, doing a ton of damage. Despite not having a bonus damage, the mangonels, to melee armor, they do, melee units, sorry. They do only have bonus against ranged units, but still, it really adds up when you've got a cluster of melee units on the front line. Eco is still very strong for the English, so we'll be able to re-max here. It's just a question of if he can get the siege he needs to deal with these mangonels. Is making the switch into hand cannoneers, which is questionable given that he's seen so many horsemen on the field for Louis MT, as those horsemen do push in to the eco lines of the English now, just trying to cause a bit of idle time, not letting Pink get any wood, which he will need for longbowmen. Nice little raid there from the horsebowmen as Purple looks to secure this forward position as the first cannon is on the field and it starts its bombardment of Pink's second TC and will slowly make its way to the White Tower as well. Behind all this, Louis capturing up the sacred sites. Just three, well, I say just, there are three on the field here, but one is very much secured in Louis' base. And I think English has too much to deal with on his front line to worry about the one in the east, as we see the man-at-arms push out now into the might of the Abbasid Purple Army. Crossbowmen's still untouched as Louis added in some Ghulams instead of the horsemen to take the front line position and the tank position that the horsemen were doing earlier. And a nice, very successful fight again there for Louis MT. Just having the siege on the background behind the meat of the army, the Ghulams. Very, very effective. And the cannon moving its way up to attack the White Tower. Probably would want to just attack the monasteries as they will go down a lot quicker. Don't have nearly as much health. We do see the cannon firing actually onto the bombard. It is doing a decent job. White Tower now at half health. The army mass again has been matched by English, but it's the same comp again. It's a few hand cannoneers, but it is mainly man-at-arms, so interesting to see if third time is the charm. As we see the White Tower burns in the background, fires off its last few cannon shots before its inevitable destruction on the front line. And that will be the last straw for Pink as he decides his defense is not enough to stop the oncoming onslaught from Louis MT. Very nice. Nicely played by Purple there. GG. See you in the post-game lounge. Hey, welcome to the post-game lounge. This is where we take a little slower look at how that game went for both players and what we can look to bring into our games. Going into Season 8, actually. That'll start soon, so that's exciting. I will be sticking with Abbasid as my main civ. I would like to get through Diamond this season. I hover around Diamond 1 at the moment, but we'll see. Anyway, onto the game. Pretty strong showing here from Louis MT, kind of dismantling the English defense despite getting so many relics. I think it was 4-1 in the end. And you know, English had a good idea. He had the gold coming in. He had the safe farms. He wanted to make that tech upgrade into the Imperial Age and get as many man-arm upgrades as possible. We saw the ironclad armor upgrade coming in as well. But Louis just making some great plays. The horseman flank in the stealth forest was a particular highlight. Taking out those two springolds just allowed the mangonels to have free reign for the rest of the fight. And I think that might have been really the turning point. Pink didn't manage to get out any siege, particularly after that. I think maybe 1 or 2 more Springolds on the field, but by that time Louis had a Culverin, which was very quickly dispatching any counter siege coming out from pink. And I think it just goes to show the English defense is not impenetrable. The Berkshire was questionable, I suppose. He actually put that quite far back in his base. Perhaps it would have allowed him a bit more time to get more upgrades in, or possibly even just build up a bit more of a diverse army if he had put the Berkshire farther in the front of the base to act as a more aggressive form of defense rather than passive just at the back. Could have worked, but he didn't do that, and he did look to use it as an anti-raid device and just to protect his farms on the back line. But in the end, Louis making some fantastic decisions. Great use of siege, a nice mix of infantry and horsemen in his army, and a nice switch over to the Ghulams as well once he knew that English just wasn't really building any crossbowmen, so just didn't have the counter there. Yeah, great match there, taking the sacred sites in the end, putting even more pressure on the English to draw them out of their base. And I think that's something I often forget in my games if I am on the upper hand, but having trouble breaking through a particularly strong defense, for example. That's what the sacred sites are there on the map for. They put pressure on the opponent to move out of their base, maybe make some decisions that aren't fully thought out, and make them trip up on mistakes that they may make. So yeah, look out for that one. If you're in a similar situation, don't forget the sacred sites. That's all I have to say on that previous game, but thanks for watching. If you do watch these little post-game lounge lobbies, I very much appreciate it. There will be some more caster games coming later this week, so subscribe if you'd like to see those, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. See you later.